People coming in.
Yeah.
We got a big group of people coming today. We're so excited to talk to all of you about what is a hot topic now. It's a hot topic always. And it's about, just taking all that technology that's going into the classroom and like really making it count. And we have two awesome speakers here today. We're going to get started in just a little bit. We still have some people rolling in. While we're waiting, you can just toss in the chat like where you're coming from. What are you drinking? I have Folgers right now. Keep it relatable.
Yeah.
The real man's coffee. I'm in very cold Duluth, Minnesota today. Burr. All right, we'll just give it a little bit longer. Let it blend.
Coming in. Hi, everyone.
$60 people. Gosh, what a group.
That's awesome.
Thanks for being here, everybody. Thank you. All right, I think it's 2:00 now. So we're gonna get this thing rolling where we hope all of you are here to talk about supporting meaningful tech integration. We have two great speakers today. They're on Treveras Education Initiatives team. They are both veteran educators, and they're going to talk a little bit about how we can use professional development and support teachers to promote technology adoption and boost engagement in the classroom and really get teachers a little bit more comfortable with using technology that we're bringing to them. So I'm going to do just a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. We have a lot of you know we're here to get some coffee. So if you want to get your coffee, make sure that you stick around until the end to do our exit survey. It's just a chance for us to get a little bit of feedback on the session, as well as get to know you a little bit more. If you have any questions throughout the session, please put them in the chat. I'll be watching throughout Josh and Anna's presentation. I'll try to get them to them throughout the conversation. Otherwise, we will hit all of them. And we have an opportunity at the end as well to get a little more free stuff. So we'll talk about that later in the presentation, but I don't really have much more to say other than thank you all for being here. We're really excited to have you all here to talk about this. So let's kick it off. Josh, all
awesome. You. Yeah, awesome. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Josh Ratliff. We'll do a little bit of introductions here. So for those of you who I have not met, I think a lot of people, I was just scrolling through the names. I feel like a lot of names in there that I know, but just in case we haven't met, my name is Josh and I am a teacher, school principal by trade. I've spent the bulk of my career at the West Virginia Department of Education, helping to do school improvement. Now working for Trevera as Director of Education. And Anna, why don't you come on and introduce yourself as well?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Anna Hanrahan, and I'm the Education Initiative Specialist here at Trevera. I have over 20 years of experience as an elementary school teacher, and I spent the majority of my years as a classroom teacher, but my last several years were spent designing and implementing a district-wide STEM initiative and program. And I went on to be the teacher for the kindergarten for sixth grade portion of that, as well as the kindergarten for sixth grade gifted teacher. So I have a lot of years of experience in the schools, and I know how important professional development is. I know how valuable teachers' times are and how important it is to be meaningful and relevant. So I'm looking forward to sharing some of this information that I think will be pretty interesting and informative moving forward.
Awesome. Thank you all. And I just want to start with kind of a breakdown of Treveras approach to technology integration. So I'm not going to read this, but I just want everyone to kind of start with first things first. And that is that we firmly believe that the most important thing that we can invest in right now is not technology, but instead it is people. When we make people first and we take all of the technology resources that we have and be very intentional about empowering educators with the skills that they need to create that instructional shift, that's where we're going to see the most magic happen in education. If there's one sentence that I could call out, look at that last one. It says we measure success not by how many devices we sell to schools, but how those devices are used to transform learning. And we not only say that on our website, but we believe it to our core. And really, that is the spirit of today's webinar. We're going to dive into that a little bit, but if you can take away one thing, it is that people are more important than things. I want to kind of give you some framework around my personal approach to technology integration and how that kind of translates over into Trevera culture. So we believe that not all technology integration is necessarily the same. We believe that you can create some learning experiences that use technology in a way that is very traditional in spirit. We also believe that technology can dramatically transform the escape of teaching and learning. Here at Trevera, we use a SRM model to try to communicate that and provide common language around levels of technology integration. So I won't go too far in the weeds with this, but I will hit the SRM model just very quickly. It's 4 levels of technology integration. It stands for substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. So the first 2 levels, substitution and augmentation, are both a direct substitute. So you can imagine a traditional form of learning. Let's imagine that we're doing pencil and paper, and then we start to substitute some technology in with no functional improvement whatsoever. It's the exact same learning experience. That's what we would call substitution. The next level up from that one is augmentation. That's where we're using technology as a direct substitute for some traditional method, but we're at least using some functional improvement. So imagine that we're using like a word processor, something like Microsoft Word or Google Docs, and we're using it to type, and we're using spell check and word count and the thesaurus and those kinds of things. Those are functional improvements. Moving up from that, we have modification. That's where we have significant task redesign. That's where the learning experience that we're creating for children is significantly different. And kind of the goal behind all of this is to reach for redefinition. That's where we're creating learning experiences that are otherwise not possible without technology. So I've asked Anna to kind of prepare an example of how the SRM model is reflected in some of our coursework. Anna, can you kind of walk through this with us?
Sure, we're going to focus here on the modification and the redefinition stages. This is an example if we had just a children's book that we were reading in a class, and the end goal is an social emotional learning activity. We want the students to really embrace their strengths, know what's important about them, build their confidence. And so with the modification stage of this, traditionally you might have students write down their strengths, what they're proud of, attributes about themselves, and you might have other students do that as well, just on pen and paper. But in the modification stage, you could use something like Google Docs, a collaborative document that will really, change how the project is done with the use of tech. And then moving on from that, for the final product, instead of creating a poster or just a pen and paper project, students could use an open-ended creation tool such as Book Creator and take all the information that they've gathered, and they can create this project about themselves, but they can also incorporate video, they can incorporate audio, they can incorporate the traditional text, but also add photos and drawings. And there's just endless opportunities when you bring in the tech component of this project.
Awesome. Very good. I wanted to move on to our next and really our last point for the webinar. We've still got a little ways to go where we're going to unpack some of these other things, but this is our second and like I say, our last point is that we firmly believe at Trevera that the most significant factor in a student's education is educator effectiveness. Now, I'm not going to deny that there are lots of important factors in a child's education. What technology does she have access to? What are her parents' engagement level with technology? What is her her family's financial status? All of those things are very important. But what we're suggesting for your consideration is a very talented, a very skillful, a very empowered educator can overcome a number of obstacles to bring her students to mastery of standards. You've all heard stories of a situation where you have a school district that is very high functioning against all of the odds, right? A school district who is performing exceptionally well despite being in an urban location with very high levels of poverty, very low levels of parental engagement, and yet they're still able to get things done. That's what we're suggesting. And it's not just us suggesting this, but there's a gentleman named John Hattie who's done research on a phenomenon or a school of thought called effect size. John Hattie agrees with our research. So in case you're not familiar with effect size, I'm going to break it down for you. This gets a little bit confusing, so I'm going to ask you to stay with me for just a minute. Imagine a number line where we have 0. That's our kind of our first marker on that. And then everything to the left, I don't know if I'm doing that right. I'm kind of confused because this is mirror image. This is my left. So everything to the left of 0, excuse me, let me go back here. Everything to the left of 0 represents learning loss, right? Just imagine a scenario where you're going to have to ask teachers to reteach a phenomenon or a concept, right? They have learning loss on the left side of the timeline. On the right hand side of the timeline, we have learning gains. The magic number in John Hattie's research is 0.4. That represents a kind of a neutral zone where we would use some strategy or some instructional method that would give us 1 year's growth in 1 year's amount of time. So anything with an effect size, a strategy, a tool, a technology component, a after school program, whatever it is, that would have an effect size of greater than 0.4 is going to give us more than 1 year's growth in 1 year's amount of time. Okay, so let's look at some of these. Something that would represent learning loss, like boredom, depression, anxiety, summer break, all of those things can cause learning loss. Something that is very neutral, inquiry-based instruction is a wonderful practice. And some would say it's a best practice. We know that it works. It's very effective. If you use inquiry-based instruction for 1 year's amount of time, you can expect about 1 year's growth from your students. Something like RTI programs, response to intervention, will yield even greater results. You can have more than 1 year's growth using response to intervention. So I wanted to take this concept and apply it again to a Trails lesson. Anna was sharing one that was related to a book that we wrote. This is a similar kind of concept. This is some Trails curriculum that we've written. This particular lesson is on gravity and air resistance, where there's a 5th grade standard that says gravity is an invisible force that pulls objects toward the center of the earth. And we use that standard as a springboard to start asking kids to think about gravity and air resistance. The key thing about this is it uses a teaching philosophy called micro teaching. I don't have time to get into micro teaching in this webinar. That's not really what this is about. But I am trying to illustrate to you that the teaching philosophy that is used in this lesson is one called micro teaching that has a 0.88 effect size. That's going to give students 2 years of growth in 1 year's amount of time. It's a very highly effective teaching strategy that's being used in this lesson. Here's what I think our takeaway for this webinar needs to be, is that we are positioning ourselves where we have more financial resources in education than we ever have in the past. And what I am seeing right now, so many conversations are around stuff. We got to get more stuff. We got to buy new technology. We got to upgrade this. We got to upgrade that. And it sounds a lot like this wave of financial funds that's coming from ESSER and ECF and the American Rescue Plan and these financial resources. This is a great opportunity for us to get new things. But we have to understand that things are not the thing that's going to drive instruction. It is investing in people. And so I've asked Anna to come on one more time and talk about our partnership with Educator and how that goes to impact the teachers and principals who are the instructional leaders of these schools, to make sure that they are empowered with all of the skills that they need to create that instructional shift.
Sure. So Trevera, we have a very close partnership with Educator, and Educator is one of the industry leaders in professional development. they're almost entirely composed of former educators that develop and deliver just exemplary professional learning and digital content solutions. They have over 40 trainers all across the country, and they provide virtual, in-person, and hybrid options for professional development. And they also offer just a whole plethora of self-paced learning courses as well. Their overall mission is to work collaboratively with school districts. They really want to work with the district and kind of tailor the needs of that district and give them what they need. Every district is unique. Every district is looking for something different. So their wide variety of offerings are just going to be an excellent choice for the majority of schools out there. Are you drawing pictures, Josh?
Well, I think I am drawing pictures. I didn't mean to draw pictures, but I'm a part-time artist, it appears.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then this is our very last point that we wanted to make is that, oh my gosh, I was hoping that would go away. How do I make that go away?
Well, it adds
I don't
interest,
know.
a little flair.
Okay, well, we'll take it. The last thing is something that you've heard us mention a couple of times, and that is this digital curriculum resources that we've written. We call it TRAILS. TRAILS stands for Trevera Resources and Activities, Investigative Lessons for STEM or for schools. We're very proud of it. It's a huge library of very high quality lessons that do exactly what we've been talking about today. Using the SRM model, you will find these lessons are pushing toward the M and the R level. They are the highest order of technology integration. You'll also find that in this library of lessons, you're going to find very effective teaching strategies and also empowering teachers who may not have the skills necessary to use a particular instructional resource. For example, you might find a lesson in here that uses Pear Deck. And then there will be a link in there that says, hey, if you're new to Pear Deck, watch this instructional video. So they're getting two things with these lessons. They are getting a high quality instructional resource, and they're also broadening their technology fluency by expanding the number of technology resources that they have access to. It's also important for us to point out that Trails is 100% free to our customers. It's always going to be free. We're never going to charge for it. It's always going to be free to our customers. If you're not our customer, you really should be. And it's really easy to become a customer of ours. We set the threshold for that pretty low. So I know we're getting ready to switch gears. And Kate, you're going to come back on, I think. But Kate has some specific calls to action. If you are interested in the professional development resources that we have, if you're interested in Trails, if you're interested in like understanding what it means to be a customer and get access to this library of resources, we can help facilitate all of that through our sales team. And I know Kate has some things that she wants to share about contact information for us as well.
Yeah, if you can just go to the next slide, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so like I mentioned at the beginning of the session, we're talking about a little bit more free stuff that we want to be able to give you guys access to. One of the reasons that we love Trails at Trevera, and a reason that we spent so much time developing it, is because it gives, for those of you out there that are tech directors and you're sitting there pounding your head against the wall, wondering what you can do to help teachers get more comfortable with the technology that you're providing, to help teachers kind of catch up in this like modern world where there's a lot of new tools and you don't always have time to be developing yourself. We love Trails because it gives teachers kind of a micro opportunity to learn about how to use some of these tools. So it's something easy that you can do. If you give your school access to Trails, every teacher in your school will have access to this lesson, this digital lesson library. There are hundreds of lessons for them to work with. So here we are, call to action. We want to be able to give you guys access to Trails. One thing that we want to do in order to do that is to start conversations with you and the people at your schools who are involved with professional development. So what we're asking for you to get Trails, free Trails for 90 days, is all we need you to do is schedule a meeting with Josh or Anna, with someone at your school who's kind of involved in that professional development decision making. So that might be a curriculum and instruction director, that might be an instructional coach, it might be you. But if you just email Josh or Anna and schedule a meeting to talk about professional development, it's absolutely commitment-free consultation kind of meeting. Schedule that up. You get free trails for 90 days for every teacher in your school, we would love to set that up for you. So that's really all that we've asked for you if you want free trails for your school. It's a great resource. You can check it out. I sent a link in the chat there. It's trails.trefera.com if you want to just check out that resource as well. So you can go on to the next slide.
We've got Daniel's in the chat, and he's asking, why does that say free for 90 days? I think he was confused because we said if you're a customer, you get it for free, which is true. If you're a customer of Trefera, you get it free forever, for always.
If you are currently a Trefera customer and you didn't know that you have access to Trails, you have access to Trails. So if you know that you have purchased with Trefera previously, you just get in touch with Anna. She can make sure that you're all set up with Trails. You should be whitelisted and ready to go with that. So if you're not a customer of Trails, Trails is going to be free for 90 days. Get with this little promotion.
Yeah. Sorry, that is confusing, but I'm glad you called that out, Daniel. Yeah, no, that's good. Trails is free forever and ever and ever, but it's free to our customers. And so this 90-day thing is just a way to get some people who are maybe not yet our customers. So peek behind the curtain.
Yeah.
You can see what all the fun kids are doing over here at Trails.
Yeah. And on that, we can just kind of open it up for Q&A. You can go on to the next slide, Josh, just a general Q&A. Contact info. Let's see, I'm going to go through and make sure I don't miss anything. If you're more comfortable unmuting yourself for questions, feel free to do so as well.
They must have done just such an excellent job of explaining everything.
When you were a Firefly, does that count as a customer for Trails? Yes, Kevin, it does. So what we did is we set the customer threshold, not that you care about the details of that, but we define a customer as anybody who has purchased 100 devices or more within the last 18 months. So I'm guessing that your purchase with Firefly would be within that 18-month period. If it's not, Kevin, if you'll just send an email to your sales rep, the former Firefly sales rep, and to CC me on it, I'll make sure that you get covered. What subjects does Trails include? I love that. Thank you for the question. It's all core areas for sure. Math, science, English, social studies. We have some really compelling computer science stuff in there. Actually, we're getting a lot of new stuff for physical education. What else, Anna? What am I missing?
Social emotional learning. We also have some that are focusing on that we've got coming in written in Spanish. We're getting a section of that. We've got some just focusing on STEM in general and different future ready skills.
Yeah, and then I think one thing that we alluded to earlier, but I could go ahead and call it out more specifically, is we're writing children's books, children's literature series that Anna's heading up for us. And so we'll write it. Yeah, there you go. There's book one. We're so proud of it. Featuring our mascot, Tom Triceratops. It's such a cute little book. He's trying to decide if he wants to go to school. He's a little nervous about what they're going to be doing. Then he decides to go on to school, and he has a great day at school and learns a lot about himself in the process. And then from that, we've written 7, or is it 8 now? 7 or 8? 8 lessons that sequence from that book. So, you have the children's book, but then you also have 8 trail mixes that you can choose from that correlate to the book and talk about social emotional learning.
And then Daniel asked, does the free trails apply at the district level or the school level? The way it works is kind of technical, but it's not super technical. I understand it. So the way that you get whitelisted is just through the email address that your contact is through. So if you are Daniel Morrison at isd709.edu or whatever, that domain name is going to get whitelisted across the board. So if you need an exception to that, just reach out to your sales rep and we'll figure that out as well.
Yeah, and then Evelyn's asking how often you have to purchase. So when you make a qualifying purchase of 100 devices or more, or some flat panels qualify, professional development qualifies. There's lots of things that you can buy from us that would qualify for you for Trails. But once you've made a purchase, you get Trails access for, I think it's 15 months. And then that just gives you a year plus another quarter to make a new purchase, which resets that 15-month clock.
Yep.
Now, we also know that some schools don't purchase annually. I'm in West Virginia, and we have schools that purchase like every 2 years or every 3 years. And so if you're on a purchasing cycle like that, that it's a little longer, we're happy to extend that period. Yeah, I have no problem with that.
Is,
And I think it's important to, to add that we currently have 355 total trail mix lessons published on the website, and we have 50 that are kind of in a holding pattern and coming soon. They're just being checked over for quality assurance. So we're going to have over 400 within the next couple of weeks, probably.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay, so is Eduscape, Brian Bednara asked, is Eduscape a district, school, or individual PD product? Great question, Brian. Anna, I think you can probably take that one.
Eduscape is for whatever needs it. You know, if the district needs it, if the school needs it. Josh, did you have something to add?
And yeah, well, I think they're asking what is Eduscape. Eduscape is an extension of Trevera.
Oh,
So
okay.
as far as our education team goes at Trevera, it's just Anna and I. But that's why we have this really tight strategic partnership with an organization called Eduscape. They're an extension of us. They have their own leadership teams and such, but they work almost directly with Trevera. So they provide expanded PD opportunities that Anna and I can't provide personally. Then they fill in the gaps for us.
Okay, we have another question. How do I get started today if I'm an existing customer? That's also a great question. So if you are on this call and you are an existing customer and you want to get logged into Trails, a good way to test out to see if your school is going to be whitelisted for that is if you just go to trails.trevera.com and you click in the corner to log in, and it's going to be a single sign-in, kind of like Microsoft login. If your school email address works, that should mean that the rest of your school is going to be set up and whitelisted to get in. If not, please reach out to your sales rep and we'll make sure that that gets whitelisted right away. Great question.
Putting trails.trevera.com in the chat.
Yep. And Josh, I know a lot of people on this call are interested in hearing a little bit more about maybe some benefits of professional development, or like what kind of impact professional development can really make on instruction. Do you have any kind of closing thoughts on how big an impact like good professional development can have on the student learning experience?
Yeah, I can tell a little story that I think would summarize that and put a nice little cap on our presentation today. Years ago, when I was in a previous role, my responsibility was I was in the Office of School Improvement with the West Virginia Department of Education. My primary responsibility was taking low performing schools and helping them close those achievement gaps to exit what we call their priority status. And I had a person come to me that said, "Hey, look, Josh, we're trying to come up with $100,000 and we want to create a presentation to our board that's going to help us go one-to-one. Can you pull some data that would show that after a school transitions to a one-to-one initiative, that we can see achievement gaps closing?" And I just automatically assumed that was true. So I go back to my desk and I start working and pulling data, and I'm trying to find school districts that find the year that they go one-to-one and watch their student achievement increase or decrease. And I'm shocked to find that there's no direct correlation between just going one-to-one and having technology devices with closing student achievement. So my takeaway from that is it must not be the technology devices that's really closing these achievement gaps. Cut to a comparison of a school district that's drastically closing achievement gaps, and we see student achievement increasing, and they're using the same technology. What's the difference? These schools that are closing achievement gaps and are exiting this priority status and are going from a 10% proficiency to a 15 or a 20 or a 50% proficiency, they're doing that by, yes, owning the right technology, but certainly empowering educators by making the investment in in humans, making sure that every educator in the building has the skills that they need to close those achievement gaps using the technology resources. I think that's it. I think, Kate, did you just want to maybe plug the upcoming webinars that we have and then maybe do the exit poll?
Yeah. So I just launched the exit survey. Like I said, that's kind of our way of knowing that you're interested in that coffee gift card. So please be sure to take that before you head out of here. I also just want to tell you about some upcoming events that we have. I know a lot of people have really been digging coming on for these coffee and combo sessions. Maybe you're stocking up for Christmas gifts with these coffee gift cards. But either way, we're just happy to have you here. So we have another webinar coming up on Wednesday, November 3rd, that is with Lenovo, and it's going to be all about promoting digital literacy with Windows PCs. So, you know, helping students build professional skills and having the tools that they need to build professional skills in production, graphic design, engineering, esports, stuff like that. We're going to be talking with our friends at Lenovo and Josh and one of our friends and customers from Oklahoma for that, and it's going to be a great session. Additionally, the next week on November 10th, we're going to have a session with Logitech all about empowering teachers again as content creators. And that's going to be a really fun one about how we can set teachers up to create super fun, engaging, awesome content that they can share synchronously, asynchronously, virtually, in person, whatever it is, just really empowering them to make really awesome learning experiences for their students using some cool technology. So if you are interested in registering for either of those, you can whip your phone out, scan that. You can register using those QR codes. Otherwise, there will be a follow-up email for this session that will include links to that too. So if you missed those links, don't worry, you'll get them later. That being said, I think this is a great combo. Thank you all so much for being here. It means a lot that you guys keep showing up for these sessions. We love talking to you about how we can really use technology to impact learning, and having you all here really helps us, know that, it validates us in our mission that improving education is a lot more than just improving technology. So
Yeah.
thanks for being here. Thanks, Josh and Anna.
Did you push the poll already? Somebody was saying they closed it. Oh, can we push it again?
It's still open.
Jenny was just, oh, okay. Jenny, do you see it? Jenny's saying that she can't see it.
Jenny, you're good. We'll hook you up anyway. You're good.
Okay.
If you can't see it, you've been to some of these. We know how you feel. You clearly like being here. So anyway, thank you all.
Thank
for
you,
being
Daniel.
Here.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
so
everyone.
I'll see you
much.
guys soon.
Bye. Thank you
Bye,
all.
all.
Bye.
Oh, what a great webinar. This is so much fun.